welcome to a brand new episode of T Watches a Scary Movie. I am T, and of course, we're talking scary movies. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new episode. You're seeing my beautiful face. That's here on YouTube at youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, that's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and like and share as well, too. And it's kind of interesting timing because it actually just celebrated a big anniversary recently now too. I'm talking Alien 3. That's right, Alien 3, which came out May 22nd in 1992. So yes, folks, that's right. We actually just got done a month ago celebrating the 30th anniversary of this film. Now first, let me just say, Alien 3 is available right now for free streaming on Hulu. So if you have a Hulu subscription, you can head over there and check out Alien 3. Now, I don't know which version it is, which is going to be a part of what I'm talking about here with it, because as all of you should know by now, the Alien series is one of those series that has been redone more than a few times over the last few decades. We've had the original theatrical version of our core four films, which is Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, or Alien Cubed, however you want to call it, and Alien Resurrection. We had our theatrical versions of all of those, and then we got subsequent special editions of Aliens, which then led to further special editions or director's cuts of Alien, Alien 3, which had what's called the assembly cut, I believe, and then Alien Resurrection. Now, there are different versions of all these films out there, and of course we can't talk about each of them because I haven't seen them all. I don't have patience for a lot of them there, but it's interesting because when compared to Aliens, a film I've talked about in bits and pieces on this show in the past, compared to all the other entries in the Alien series, that's the one I think I know closest to heart because I just know the footage that's in there, so I can tell whether it's the original version or whether it's the special edition. You know, there are things in there like the smart gun scene in the hallway or the turret scene to where the aliens are trying to come down the hallways to get to them in the lab, and they've set up these guns outside to kind of blast them down. Hey, that's special edition. If that's not there, we're looking at theatrical. But I don't know the other films as well to say the differences from one version to another. So it's interesting to go back and watch Alien 3 because I hadn't watched this movie in a little bit of time. Like, I know I've watched it recently, but actually like paying close attention to it, trying to pick up a lot of the new stuff that's in there. This was kind of one of the first watches for me catching this new version. So I watched the special edition that's available on Vudu. Now, the problem is that I can't tell you that much about the original version because I remember being a kid in the early 90s. This probably was like 93, 94. I was living in, it had to be in New Mexico because it was right before we moved to Georgia. And I remember watching like the tail end of Alien 3. And I was super stoked because it had Charles Dutton in it, who I knew from the time from Rock, this black-led sitcom, drama that was on TV. So I was like, cool, Charles Dutton's in this. And, we got Ripley back and Bishop's back. But as a kid, beyond just being terrified of it, because I truly feel that Alien 3 was a terrifying film to see as a kid. I loved the design of this alien compared to the other two because it was bipedal and it was like kind of running around and stuff. And the other ones is very much a stand-up creature because they're all coming from men. And that actually brings up a good plot point here is that compared to what we saw in Alien and Aliens, where they're all coming from humans, Alien 3's plot point was that the creature, the xenomorph, came from a dog in the theatrical version. But if you're watching the special edition or the assembly cut, you know that the alien this time attacked an ox, actually, as opposed to a dog. There is no dog in the special edition. So what's the story of Alien 3? Well, when we left off in Aliens, Ripley, Hicks, Newt, and Bishop had narrowly escaped being absolutely destroyed by the queen alien who was revealed to be making eggs and her cadre of, foot soldiers. They were able to destroy LV-426, I believe, and as far as they knew, wipe out the alien menace. Now, keep in mind, across two films, we've seen Ripley just go through the absolute ringer. She's lost her entire crew back on the Nostromo, and then now she was kind of tricked into going back to LV-426 to find out what's going on with the colonists there. All of them were completely decimated. All the Marines she was sent with were decimated as well too, leaving her, Newt, Hicks, and Bishop, like I said. So finally, she's getting a little bit of relief. She's getting a little bit of relaxation. Everything's going to be okay. But of course, that can't happen, and we find out that a alien egg was somehow left aboard their ship, which obviously came out of the egg during their hibernation, and unfortunately this resulted in the deaths of Newt and Hicks, and Ripley is left here on Fury 161, a foundry and a maximum security male inhabited work planet. And it just kind of sucks right out the gate there because, you know, one of the best things about horror films is that no matter what our lead characters go through, and at least 50% of them, they get some kind of relief, and we can hope that they have a good life after that. Now, we know in horror, that's not typically the case if there's a sequel. Like, if you bring a protagonist back, typically they're coming back just to die, ultimately. And with Aliens, it's a bit different because Ripley just really, really gets punished over and over and over, and there's no happiness. And at the end of Aliens, it feels like we finally get to a point to where she can relax and take a breath. And even though so many horrible things has happened, she's finally reached a little bit of peace, possibly love. You know, she's able to get a new relationship to kind of replicate what she lost with her daughter, who passed away through old age. And that's all immediately ripped away. And what's so interesting about Alien 3 is just, especially in the special edition, is that it's a while before Ripley's even aware that there's a problem on Fury 161, that basically an alien did happen to follow them along and implant it on the oxen, and now she has a bigger problem there, along with another problem that we'll get to. But that was kind of interesting to me that the movie basically sets up that Ripley's been running and hiding and dealing with this issue for so long at this point now, that getting to this planet, regardless of the fact she's lost Newt, she's lost Hicks, Bishop is gone, and she's kind of dealing with that. So far, it just seems that, look, like, this is just kind of your life on this planet now, and that's just the way things are. And it's even more evidenced by the fact that she ends up getting into a sexual relationship with Charles Dance, who you might all recognize from Game of Thrones, or who I recognize from Last Action Hero as Benedict. Fucking love Charles Dance. And that's something that went over my head as a kid watching the original version, that her and Charles Dance's character actually had a relationship in that film. Because you have to kind of remember that her and Hicks never, you know, we're going to be crass, they never got the fuck. They never got to, like, actually consummate that relationship at all. So she's quite literally hasn't had anything going on since whatever time frame Alien was in up until Alien 3. And that's a lot of time, because remember, she's been in stasis, where she's not really aging or anything. So it's kind of funny that the two of them hook up, and I think that's actually kind of like groundbreaking a bit as well too, because, you know, you have this strong female character in this film who's making a choice for herself to go and get herself some. So good for you, Ripley. Knock it down like that. But again, we then find out that, yes, there is a xenomorph running around this prison facility, and Ripley has a lot more to deal with other than this male-dominated world. Because that's kind of been what's been presented to us in Aliens as well, too, is that this civilian, this woman, gets thrown in with all these Marines. And yeah, Vasquez is there, but like, she's in this male-dominated world to where they tolerate her, but always seems to be a bit on edge. And in Fury 161, we're realizing that, you know, she's actually in immediate danger, because she's attacked during a time in the film by multiple inmates who, you know, looking to rape her. First time they've been around a woman in forever, and it's very clearly throwing off this planet's balance. And it's interesting, considering an Alien movie, the xenomorphs are the ones that are throwing off the balance of the humans on LV-426. And so it's just interesting to see that kind of dichotomy, to where Ripley is now kind of the alien coming to Fury 161, dealing with all of these different inmates. Now, from there, in the special edition, we're also treated to a difference of plot, to where in the original version, it's very straightforward, to where the enemy here, the problem is that this alien exists, and hey, surprise, Ripley also has an alien within her as well too. But it doesn't end there. Weyland-Yutani is showing up to basically get that alien back, because that's what they want, is this weapon that they can just utilize. And I love the urgency in the special edition here of Ripley, especially at this point, knowing what's coming and that she needs her life ended because they're not coming to save her, or they're not coming to save all these prisoners. They're coming for one purpose, and that is to capture this xenomorph and to experiment, to use it as the weapon that they intend it to be. And the urgency behind Ripley trying to convince all these prisoners, like, hey, we have to kill it, because if we don't, we're going to die anyway, but we can at least do some good before we die. And I really enjoy that compared to, you know, the first two entries in the Alien series, because it always was about eradicating them. Like, there's a chance we get out of here, there's a chance we're going to survive, there's a chance everything's going to be okay. And they technically had more to deal with in those first two movies. In this film, there's only a danger of one alien. Like, yeah, the Queen is there, but ultimately you kind of get the idea that could be handled very easily if they decide to. But I like the idea that this really is a last stand. They are not in a position to handle this one alien. They don't even have the flamethrowers of the original movie. They don't have the ability to flush this alien out into like the deep space as well either. They're stuck and have to deal with it mano a mano. And I love the dichotomy behind it is that Ripley at this point just wants to end it. She just wants to ensure that this nightmare doesn't become somebody else's nightmare one last time before she ultimately has to make that sacrifice. And it's interesting that in this cut, you know, they show us that one of the prisoners becomes obsessed with the alien instead, and there's almost like a secondary antagonist because this prisoner becomes so obsessed with the idea of this dragon, of this xenomorph running around, that maybe it's the divine hand of God somehow coming to issue punishment to them that they all rightfully deserve. Because we can't forget that, again, this is a prison planet. These people are here for a reason. They're not just good inherent people because they're being hunted by this monster. And that Ripley really does have to forge this alliance with them to make everything work out. And it's interesting. And I do apologize if I'm getting it wrong. I believe it was Dread Central did a retrospective on it recently about how this kind of coincided with the you know, the terrible AIDS scare in the United States, to where, you know, people with AIDS were routinely villainized, and it was this alien disease, and you were infected, and there was no way to hell, and all these terrible things in the 80s and the 90s around that disease, and how it's very reminiscent of what Alien is, and how Ripley herself, you know, becomes infected, and suddenly she's damaged goods at that point. Folks still want her, but they want her for one specific reason, and it's a choice of, you know, you can either die with dignity, or you can go through and be poked and prodded, and we're going to take this thing from you, and that's your only importance to us. So it's a very interesting and sad story compared to the other ones, and I do feel it's rather finite compared to the other Alien films, because one, we get a bit of we actually get an ending compared to Alien and Aliens, and even compared to like Alien Resurrection, I feel like there's a stamp placed right on it about where the story went. And it really surmises that, you know, Ripley's life was pain. It was just so much pain over and over and over, and her fighting to protect all these other people. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when she's finally able to fight for herself, it results in the end of her, basically, of her having to sacrifice her life to save humanity. And I love that so much about this film. And honestly, I love the fact that opinion of Alien 3 has really turned the tide in the last like 15 years or so as well too. Like, I think a lot of people who haven't revisited it still have issues with it, and it's a harder pill maybe to swallow these days about it being an enjoyable film. But I really think that folks, if they were to go back and watch this special edition, would really get a bigger appreciation and understanding of it, because it's such a different film compared to the other Alien films. Not only that, the original version was done by David Fincher. You know, fucking David Fincher, Mindhunter, Seven, a bunch of other amazing stuff, Zodiac. Like, the guy is a genius. So it's interesting to see that so much studio interference killed his version of the film, yet in 2022 there's a better understanding of where it lies at in the entire, you know, alien mythology. And it's a very, very strong film. But I believe that about the entire series. There was a time to where the only film in it that I enjoyed was Aliens, and that's just because it's an exciting and a horrifying film overall. But this really is a great movie. I really, really do enjoy Alien 3 quite a bit. I think it's worth a new look from a lot of faces who maybe only saw it as a kid like I did and need to experience it a different way. I'm not saying it's going to reach the levels of Aliens or even the original film for a lot of you, and even Alien Resurrection, because that's more about guns and shooting and stuff as well. But there's a lot to enjoy about Alien 3, and I think it's a more focused harness scarier film than even Alien at times, honestly. I think there's a lot to be terrified with in this film, and a lot that goes into the future of where this franchise went, because like it really does set up Alien Resurrection quite perfectly with a lot of the themes that get explored in this film. So if you haven't watched it recently, take another look at it. You can pick up the Blu-ray really actually cheaply these days, which will include the original version and this special edition as well too. But check it out. I'm very curious about what y'all think about it. Has Alien 3 gotten better over 3 decades now? Have you seen it more than once? Have you watched the special edition? Let me know in the comments. And remember, Alien 3 is available to watch on Hulu for free right now.